Everyone has got their hands on Double Masters now, and the showcase cards are a-flowing. We have got pictures all over the internet of people opening hot spice in their Double Masters packs.
Hot spice. I like hot spice. I like spicy garlic. I like any kind of spice, really. I love spice. We're going to talk about all of the art on these cards today. It's going to be a tier list. We haven't done a tier list in a while. I hope you're ready for a tier list because it starts right now. Was that good? You want to do it again?
Special thanks to our Patreon supporters who power our channel. Check out our Patreon for monthly giveaways, exclusive content, and even a starring role in our fan fight series. Link in the description below.
Hello and welcome to the day.
Thank you for spending your time with us.
I'm Jake.
I'm Joel. Welcome back to another episode of Jake and Joel Are Magic. We are going to tier list rank all of the showcase cards based on, I don't know, how much we like them from Double Masters. But first, if you would do us a favor, go down there and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It really helps us out.
It's the best way to support the channel with just the click of a button. If this is the second Jake and Joel video you have ever seen, you must click subscribe because for some reason you're back.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is going to be a great time. Let's get into it.
Let's jump into these cards. All right, Jake, so what we've got over here is all of the showcase art for all of the showcase cards from Double Masters. We're going to rank them on our scale S through F. We're going to take a little closer look at the art over here in this frame. And Jake, we're better with this set than to start with Karn Liberated Confused Mark Teton art.
I love it. I am probably in a minority of people that really love the art on this card. This is one of my big things that I love about Showcase variants, is that because they've established them, starting with Battle for Zendikar and then Masterpieces and then Invocations, and then you had, you know, the Fairy Tale art and then the Triome Showcase art with Ikoria.
Yeah.
Now we're all the way here and people are buying in. They're just like, you know what?
Go crazy.
Do whatever you want.
Yeah, go nuts.
It does not matter. And I like that because it does remind me of the beginning of the game. When you look back at, like, oh my god, the Holy Light art, who was that? Drew Tucker, I believe, where it's just like...
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's just very abstract. Now, this isn't nearly as abstract as that, but it's
Obviously.
still very cool, and I'm a fan of it.
Yeah, I'm a fan too. I don't think that this is going to hit the S tier for me. I would tend to fall around A or B. Where do you think our confused Karn Liberated falls?
You know...
He's like, I just came out of the woods. What's going on? Why is everything crazy?
All of these opinions are completely correct. There is no other way to think. So what we say is the do-all, end-all of how it is.
Absolutely.
So if you don't agree with what we think, then you're wrong. And so, you know, yeah, of course, let's settle on A. It's an A, and there's no other objective. There's no other opinion. This for me is an S. It's just, the card itself is an S, and I'm trying to put that bias aside. That being said, I do think the art on this card is fantastic.
So what I
love
like,
that brightness in the middle.
Yeah, and I like that he's, you know, so it's got the spread in between his hands of the runes, and that really works with the widened frame. And it's the original art. I know it's not a new art piece, but it in this frame for me, I'm completely with you. I think this is a home run. I think that it is so perfect.
It's like the light around Jace and then the darkness that is Jace, and then the glow on his face and then that brightness right in the middle. It's just really good balance.
I was really so happy that their decision here was not to go and get a new piece, but to embrace the original, the OG,
man.
And use that width that you gain from killing the border and making the whole piece take up the whole card, and the borders are overlaid, your title blocks are overlaid, that it just gives this sense of, I mean, you can feel the wind blowing in his cape, you know?
Dude, we have never seen that extension of Jace's cape. Isn't that kind of crazy to think?
Yeah,
that's the first time that we've ever seen the cape that far out. That's
I've seen the piece. I've actually got this piece on my wall behind
true, but on a card.
On the card,
like,
I know. I understand what you're talking about. Yeah, the width really does make it a home run for me. And
again,
now,
here.
Yeah, we've got Avacyn, Angel of Hope. We're really starting with some heavy hitters here.
Yeah, we're going to go through all the heavy hitters, and, you know, it's very hard for me to rank this less than an S or an A as well.
Yeah.
I think we're going to have a lot of A's, a lot of S's today. I would love to see the foil of this card. I bet it's just fantastic.
Yeah, this one for me is another home run. I really think they nailed it, getting Randy Vargas to do this piece. We've got this kind of ethereal Avacyn representation here.
And the brightness in the staff.
Yeah, really giving out some hope. And yeah, I mean, it's bright all throughout, but the brightness, you're right, is just enhanced in the head of the staff here with her symbol. And it, that it kind of gives this sense of beaming down on those that are loyal to her as their angel of hope, because that gives their permanence, the permanence indestructible, So yeah, I'm a real big fan of this piece. I was super excited when I saw it for the first time.
And I like the purples and the yellows going on here. Those are two colors that I think go together really well. And yeah. I think, it's like, even though it's not like a very bright yellow, it's not like a bold yellow or neon yellow, but it's very subtle, and I think it's really nice. I like it a lot. Very
yellow white, very white yellow. So this one's going to be tough because this is the highest res one I could find on the internet at the time of shooting this. However, we can still judge this based on the composition and on the on the perspective here. I love how the piece makes you feel like you are standing before this high court that is raised in the back of the room, and they are just judging the absolute crap out of you.
Yeah. And trying to set aside what the cards do here and just objectively look at the art on the
piece, the composition, the borders. Cool. Yeah,
I would give it an A or a B.
Yeah, I would say this one falls into a B for me, just compared to some of these others. We've got the voting here, and it's cool because it's an EDH card, so it represents this like, all right, I vote this, I vote this. If there's a better flavor text for how this video is being represented, I don't think that there is one, man. Our ruling is final on all of these. So let's talk about Stoneforge Mystic. Jake, what was the name of the actress that I said this looks like? The woman from...
Elizabeth Moss.
Yeah, the woman from Mad Men and from Handmaid's Tale. Yeah, it looks like Elizabeth Moss, Stoneforge Mystic to me.
Invisible Man was the last movie I saw in theaters before.
Well, that's an interesting one to end your movie career on.
It's crazy to see Sonic the Hedgehog movie posters still up. It feels like the world just kind of stopped moving.
What do you think of this?
The art on this is
Mystic?
Good.
Yeah,
I think it's cool. I'm not super into it as much as I am the OG art. I think the OG is just sick, man.
In between the two pieces of the forge that are making the thing, and this one we've got more of I'm some kind of metal crafter, almost like a Magneto style powers. I'm an earth crafter, earth bender, maybe something like that. And they're creating the sword right out of the very land upon which she kneels. Yeah, I'm gonna say kneels.
Yeah, and it's like this Michael Bay camera angle. It's like a low shot.
Yeah,
kind of like Transformers think those kind of angles. I mean, this was it's kind of cool to me, but at the same time, it's just I don't know, I'm just not into it. There's just something in my gut where I'm just I'm very medium on it.
Are you happy with a B for Stoneforge Mystic as well?
Yeah, I would go B or C. I'd be fine with doing a C, but
I think I like it more than you, and so I want to bump it up from a C.
I like that. I like that. Whatever you think. If you balance it up, we can balance it.
I like the idea a lot because the very least the artist took a chance with the new representation, and the art director allowed them to take a chance with the new direction. What about Brainstorm? Look at this one.
I think this is tight, man. I think it's really cool.
It reminds me of the cover of an old sci-fi magazine from 100%. The 90s.
1 million. I didn't even think about that. You said that, it made my skin crawl, dude, because I think that I really feel that. I do. It does remind me of one of those old...
I remember as a kid seeing all these weird sci-fi magazines and trade publications, and they would have this art that kind of had to do with one of the stories in there, but might have just inspired, and it was always super weird. And it'd be like a lizard, but the lizard has an assault rifle, and they're riding on a bird, and there's a woman that's scantily clad clinging to the, and there's always weird stuff like that. And there's an upside down person standing on the ground that's also the ceiling back behind, it was stuff like that.
Yes.
And this one, we've got this metallic rain. It almost reminds me too of that scene in The Matrix, where Keanu touches the mirror and the mirror starts wrapping him, completely flowing around him. Yeah, I'm super into
it is
this
very
one.
metallic. I think it's really it's really neat, and just all of the blue. I mean, it's just so blue. Yeah, I would do probably an A or an S on this card. I think it's really nice art. I think A works.
Yeah. Let's hit A for the Brainstorm. Next up, we've got Cyclonic Rift.
Yeah, I like it. I really do like it. It's very steampunk. It reminds me of like, Is It Ravnica?
Sure.
It's just like very Is It.
And it's very blue mana. They didn't embrace red at all on here. It's so blue, in fact, that what I think would have been red has been turned purple in this piece. And so it's a very blue and purple composition. It's not
a lot of good balance.
Yeah, it's almost a little abstract for me, which is weird because you can very clearly see this like table and this mage, and they flipped a switch, and these things are all converging in this mana vortex back here in the back. But I wish that, for me, I just wish it was a little more immediately like, oh, I can see that. I can see what that is. And that's going to seem, I think, short-sighted to some people, but that's just my opinion about it.
And it does return all permanence. So that big dining room table that seats easily 10 people, that's getting returned to your hand too. I don't know what that does. I imagine, I don't know, you get an extra card off of it. I would say, Joel, after listening to your critique of it, it's kind of interesting because I do think it would have been more adventurous for them to pick a different color. However, I know they were given a prompt for this card.
Of course.
And I'm sure that it had a specific direction.
Right.
But given that, I would go like B on this.
Yeah,
B or C.
I would say C, but I do think that it's nice that they took a chance on something that wasn't just a tornado of mana like the original art. Now, I'm not knocking the original art. I love the original art of this card. But,
sure.
They did take some sort of chance, which is kind of what I want them to do with these. I mean, for Karn's sake, look at this smiling, confused Karn coming out of the woods up here.
And I 100%, if you weren't here, I would have ranked that card in S. And I'm just saying, like,
oh really?
That's just for me, like how I really love, Karn without pants, big Karn just like standing there, very strong. This is just so different than that.
Yeah.
This is like we are stuck in a freaking dolly piece, and I don't know what is going on.
Yeah, dude.
But I love that. I love that it's such a powerful card, and he looks like a big doof. He's about to fall off
It is
the
like that episode in any cartoon or like a Rick and Morty style show where they go into a different dimension and the animators completely swap the animation style to represent, and the whole time they're commenting on like how weird they look, and Karn's making jokes about I can't change my face.
Or was that Inside Out? Yeah, where they're running and
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about. Okay, so next up, look at this. We got Force of Will from Scott Fisher. This one is beautiful. It doesn't, in my opinion, cleverly represent what the card does or what the card represents as far as the MTG standpoint, but the composition, the style, the color scheme, everything about it is just gorgeous to me. It just, for me, doesn't scream Force of Will. Therese Nielsen falling out of favor, not working with MTG anymore, and I completely understand why. But her piece with the hands in the middle, the thought, it shows what I think the spell represents to me. This one, it has some elements of that. We've got pyroblast kind of things popping in and they're being
from the
stopped.
Top right up there.
I'm not, do you know what is happening here? What is this?
For me, the way that kind of feels is like I'm pitching something. Like that right arm to me with that hand is like I'm pitching this to do this. Like that kind of feels like I'm throwing this card away. The part of Force of Will that is, getting rid of that. So from that perspective, I do think, there's just a lot going on in the art of this card, and I like it a lot too. But for me, it's just a little bit much, which is why, for me in this product, I was really gunning for that EMA art.
Right.
That's the foil force that I want, is that foil original Eternal Master, or not the original art from Alliances, but Eternal Master's art.
No, I get what
it's
you're
just
saying.
so beautiful. But this, for me, it comes in at like a B or an A. I think it's a beautiful card. I think it's really nice.
Yeah, I'm with you on
But trying
A.
to set aside what Force of Will does,
Sure.
and the power level of the card, I like that glow on the right hand. I would like a little bit more of that.
I think if we look at this as inter comparisons, it is better than these to me, and it's about on the same level of these for me, because this one, we like these specifically because of the style choices, the art choices, and these just sort of nail all of it. The art, the style, the choice, a little bit of nostalgia with Jace, obviously, but the composition of the card itself, representation of itself as a Magic card, what it actually does, and these are just below that line, but still wonderful, wonderful pieces.
Yep.
Phyrexian Metamorph is up next. Again, sorry for a little bit of a low res photo here, but as far as talking about the cover of a science fiction magazine, that's exactly what this looks like to me.
Yeah, it's a little bit difficult for me at a glance to discern what is going on in this. Agreed. But once you do see it, if it makes sense, it does. I do like it more once I see it, because then it looks like this, kind of like Transformer Decepticon coming out of the aether or something like that. It's neat, but again, this for me would be like a B or a C.
Yeah, I think this is the first one that I would be comfortable saying. For me, it's C. I can't get a sense of what I'm looking at a glance. I've seen
it just
this
looks like
a
smudge,
right?
And I hate to say that, I really do, but it just kind of looks like
I think it's fair. I think that is probably sort of what they were going for. I mean, we've got it enters the battlefield as a copy of any artifact or creature on the battlefield, so being sort of formless, I would say that
it's part
maybe
of the card. It's a shapeshifter. I mean,
this over here is probably the Metamorph at its conclusion of transforming into whatever
100%.
This thing is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%.
And so we're not actually looking at the Metamorph there. Anyway, we'll move on to a controversial one, Dark Confidant.
All right, so a lot of time in art, they talk in like film, they talk about the thirds. It's like it's more interesting to look at a picture if something's in the third rather than in the middle, because in the middle it just kind of feels like conflict and stuff. I see what's going on here. At first I'm not super into it, but the balance is fine. However, there's just something about this card that I'm just like, we've already talked about it. I'm not that into it. I would rank this Dark Confidant at being probably my least favorite art for Dark Confidant.
Agreed.
I would say probably a C or a D for me.
Yeah, I think that the composition of the piece itself, I know what you're talking about with the thirds, and yes, this is in a third, but I feel like the third of this photo should have been like more like right here, talking about the balance of these two guys, and bump this over a little bit so that we're hitting in between their two faces here, and we can get the more like addled look. I mean, we know it's not like we have to have this be the only full person in the picture. It's obviously the whispering in the ear, the worm tongue from Lord of the Rings kind of thing going on. That idea, I understand it. I'm with you. I would go D for this one comfortably and move on from it. Next up, after Dark Confidant, we've got Fatal Push. Now, the cool thing that was pointed out to me about this art when it first spoiled is that this is the opposite angle of the original piece of Fatal Push. In the original piece of Fatal Push, these little shadowy figures up here, one of these shadowy figures had just kicked this soldier off of the airship.
Oh,
and
wow.
they were falling backwards. And in this piece, we have seen 2-3 seconds further in the very, very near to the end of this soldier's life, where they are now anticipating their imminent doom and falling towards the earth from the airship. So from a creativity standpoint, and that
fantastic,
that putting a thought into it, for me, this is awesome, because Fatal Push you can do anything with. And they said, no, let's go back to the OG, but let's look a little ahead in the story. But I'm only talking like 3 to 5 seconds further.
Sure. Yeah. Very like, kind of like abstract. It kind of reminds me of like almost like a watercolor in a lot of ways, kind of like an expressionist kind of like it's not like the OG Fatal Push where it's like that high, like that high design, that new
realism
kind of like
it's
realism.
Not fantasy realism. It's definitely more impressionistic. And I will say this, your comment made me think about this. If I didn't know that original art, would I appreciate this as much, or would this be much more like, what is going on in this picture? Because this looks like maybe a giant leaf, and that's a small person. Or maybe they're very big, and that's like a bird for scale. I don't know.
Sure, because you could also, be like, what are they riding on? Are they like flying through the air, dancing with their jazz hands across their face?
Yeah.
But no, it is interesting when you see it. I think it's, for me, I think it's really cool. I would go like a B on this one.
Yeah,
like
I'm comfortable with a B. That's what I was feeling. If you're feeling a B, I'm feeling a B as well. We've got our new Thoughtseize next up.
All right, Thoughtseize coming up next with the puzzle pieces. Look at that, and taking one right out of the head. Very cool, man. I think it's just very cool. The only thing for me that's a little bit weird on this one are the colors that were chosen for it. But it's very like a black and beige. Like the whole card just feels like black and beige. And I think there could have been maybe like, I don't know. Yeah. But I love the puzzle piece under the arm of the fairy.
It's such a cool thought.
Awesome.
Just back here, I think maybe what you're feeling is that this is fairly ambiguous. I mean, we've got this almost fantasy realism fairy, like we were just talking about, holding a very, very distinctly a puzzle piece here. But then back here, are we led to believe that like they cast a spell on this person and turn them into a puzzle because they're like a trickster fairy and they're able to steal the thoughts of this person by turning them into this like puzzle form and stealing the pieces? Is that how far we're supposed to go with this? Is it just an abstract representation of the theft of a thought?
Yeah, that's an interesting perspective.
And so back here it's sort of ambiguous and, like you said, very beige versus this one. But I will say I love the piece. This was our banner on Twitter. I don't know if you noticed, but this was our banner on Twitter for like 2 weeks after it got spoiled because I just loved the piece so much. And this frame in particular that would fit on a banner on a social site, it was just awesome looking. Yeah,
it is really cool. For me, it falls into like B again. Yeah. A lot of B's. I can't rank. I'm gonna have a really hard time ranking any of these cards like very, very lowly. It's
absolutely.
There's a lot of really good stuff here.
Right, but we do want to. I really want it to be unequivocally up there, and so it makes sense for me. I'm with you. I'm with you on the strong B, and look, strong B is awesome. Here's another Blood Moon. I like this Blood Moon more than the existing art, but again, for me, there's not a lot of like chance taken here. You know what I'm saying? This is a Blood Moon.
Very straightforward.
It's above a volcano. And look, I'm not an artist, but if you ask me, how do you get creative with the art for a card called Blood Moon that changes non-basic lands into mountains? This is very straightforward on the does it represent what it's on the card, aspect.
Mm-hmm. Sure, yeah. For me, it's not especially moving. I think it's very cool. I'm sure that it was very fun to do this piece. It's just a lot of red, dude. Like, I feel like I want a little bit more contrast, but I get what Blood Moon does. It turns everything into mountains. So, from that perspective, Blood Moon's supposed to be red. It's a red card,
I'm feeling C for this one. It falls into the same world for me as like Phyrexian Metamorph, where it just, there's not really a chance taken. It's sort of abstract. It doesn't really hit it for me. It's just kind of weird. Does that make you comfortable? Does a C make you see what I'm saying?
With a C. I'm fine with the C. I don't think there's any reason to argue against it.
We've got Goblin Guide up next. This little fellow with a map on his head. He's so lost. He's just using the map instead of for guidance now. It is shade. And he's like, I don't know that way.
Yeah, I would rank it A or an S. Yeah. I think it perfectly represents what the card does. It kind of also represents the fact that, like late game Goblin Guide, kind of like giving your opponent another land. Mm-hmm. It kind of even encapsulates the fact that sometimes this card can not be good. Right. It's really good right off the rip when you're coming out of the gate. We're not talking about that, but I do think that the art on the card is fantastic.
It's also the same version of Goblin that we saw the last new art
Modern
of
Masters.
It. Yeah, and so it's a little bit of a callback to that. I'm very happy at ranking it at A. It's a pet card of mine, and so I'm always going to be biased. Same. I've loved this card since it was printed. And, so I'm always going to love it. Next up, we've got Sneak Attack with the Orcs making hot dogs.
So, in the original art, a dragon has been snuck up upon by a group of orcs. In this one, the dragon is sneaking up on the orcs. So, I think it's really cool. Yeah. All of these cards kind of have, or a lot of them, I shouldn't say all of them, but a lot of them have a theme of being related to the original artwork or some sort of artwork that has been in the history of
absolutely.
MTG. I think this is really good. I'm not especially into the colors of it, but I do think that it's neat. I do think that it's a really cool card.
I like that. So one of the negatives for me early on was that the perspective on it was so tight. It's almost like we are standing at this campfire walking, like maybe we're an orc that walked away to use the bathroom and we're walking back up and we're still concentrating on the faces of our orc friends, but then we see these two little glowy lights in the background and we're like, wait, what's that? And so it's almost like we're the first one
but too late
who has noticed. Yeah, exactly. And it's just too late. Yeah, for me, I mean, this one is strong B. I would hear arguments for higher. What do you think?
Yeah, I would be fine for a B on this one.
We're going to end up with a lot of Bs on this one, ladies and gents.
That's all right.
That's what it does. Right. We've got crop rotation with a treant, some kind of tree folk dragging its hand across the land and bringing it into a bountiful harvest flowering land out of what is just a grassy knoll, grassy plains.
Yeah, I think it's cool. Sack of land, it feels like it's sacking this plains to create this lush, flowerful beauty. Yeah, I like what's going on with that left. I guess you could call a hand of branches.
Yeah, branch hand.
Those branch hand, those bright greens and yellows there. I'm a big fan of those.
Yeah,
I think it's great. This for me would be probably a B.
Yeah. I'm at B. I really like the composition.
Love the colors
too. The colors are awesome. It's great that they went with this like autumnal phase over here, and it almost looks like we're going into winter back overcast. Here. But yeah, exactly. But this treant's just like, nah, we're gonna drag the hand and turn it into whatever land we want it to be. And the balance of it, it's really nice with just this little crook coming in here of the new harvest there. I'm with you on that one being a B. Doubling season is up next. We got our little baby dinosaurs. Our dragons.
So again, a very big difference in like art style from normal Magic the Gathering cards. But I love this. I think I would put it at an A. I really do. I love the little dinos. I like that, there's two dinos. I like that. I don't know. The old doubling season is kind of like, I don't know. It looks like a map on a wall.
Yeah.
With like, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. It's very abstract in its representation.
Yeah, it's very abstract.
Card does. And here we've got one egg that two creatures have hatched out of, another one that two creatures are dormant still in, and then I tried to scroll down on the art. What am I doing? And then another one where we've got two beaks poking out of a single egg. And so plus cute factor, man. Look at this little guy here with with his little baby dinosaur mittens in between these big baby Yoda eyes. Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm super into this representation of Doubling Season for sure. And I bet in foil those eyes pop even more, and maybe even this like prismatic kind of colored, double dragon popping out of the back egg.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I think it's really cool. I think it's very different than the other versions of Doubling Season that I've seen. There's the Battle Bond one, there's the Modern Masters one, but this one I'm a fan. I'm a fan of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Explore is up next, or Exploration rather is up next. And I mean, as far as like beauty of composition and use of color,
A or an S.
Yeah, this is great. This just nails it for me. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you on S for this representation of Exploration. I love it.
Yeah, it's just those beautiful pink in there. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Black Lotus.
Yeah,
and it's just it's really, really, really beautiful card.
Right. Yeah. If anybody knows if this is a representation or a callback to a different piece of art in the history, let us know in the comments below. It seems like it would be. With every step she took, a new world unfolded before her. It seems like possibly it does relate to something that we're not aware of. But even the use of size in this composition is just great to have your humanoid figure over here against this enormous bloom that they have found, that's just like this, bountiful, playing an additional land on each of your turns, gaining that extra mana. I see it all in this piece, Yeah,
it's cool. I like it a lot.
Next up, we've got Noble Hierarch. I like this one because we've got this, I think it's like a reflecting pool here in front of her. We've got our forest, we've got our plains, all represented in this triumvirate, and it's our original character, I believe, too. It's like a moment later in her day of meditation.
Sure. Yeah. I like I agree with all of the things that you said, and I do like that it encapsulates the forest, the plains, the island, all of that. I like the green and the yellow. It's a very, very green and yellow card, and just like the balance of that with the white lettering on Noble Hierarch and creature and just all of the text of the card, I think really works well with the card in a lot of ways. And I know we haven't talked a lot about that, but it is interesting to me. And again, this kind of reminds me of colored pencils in a lot of ways. So a very different kind of look with this going on. Yeah. So I do like it. I would rank this at probably an A or a B. It's hard for me to rank it higher than A, but hard for me to rank it lower than A or B. So whatever you're comfortable with.
Yeah, I feel like for me it hits B. It's missing that little extra piece for me. I think it's a wonderful composition. Maybe the meditation is supposed to represent exalted on the card. I don't know. Kind of waffling back and forth as we go through this on, does it need to be represented, or does the piece itself rise above needing to be representative of the card completely? But I still think it's important to be able to, just see it. And yeah, I think B is where I would fall on that one.
Cool.
How about this representation of Atraxa Praetor's voice?
So it's very cool, man.
Oh yeah.
It's just very, very cool. And so where a lot of these pieces have been more abstract, this is very high fantasy, high detail, Elish Norn kind of it's very scary.
Oh,
all of the arms that are going on here. And yeah, I would rank, dude, oh man, the wings, everything going on about this. I'm so into it.
Voice is represented here. Obviously,
the scream.
Exactly. People are going to yell at me because the proliferate's not really representative, but I want to rank this one really high.
I don't know. Kind of by the arms, proliferate is represented.
Yeah, I guess so. It's just for me, this is so cool. If Atraxa was one of my main commanders, this is absolutely one that I would want in foil as soon as I could get my hands on it. Legendary frame. We've got it's just
sick, dude.
It's so
I would rank
sick.
this at an S easily.
Yeah.
I love everything going on here.
I really think they nailed Atraxa on that one, even though they didn't, get abstract with it or try to change up what Atraxa looks like or anything like that. They just said, let's just get this super badass piece of Atraxa Angel Horror flying through the air, screaming the Praetor's wills. I'm super into it. How about this representation of Kalia? It looks like something out of like a holy text or like a religious scroll or something. It's so tight.
Yeah, dude, I love this. I love this art too. I would easily rank this at an A. You could probably make a case for S.
Yeah.
But I do love the balance. I think the foil is probably just fantastic. How you have those these little spaces around the side where you have a lot of balance between the light and dark of the piece, and just man, it's very, very beautiful. And I agree with what you say. It kind of looks like almost something that would be like etched on a wall or like the side of a mountain, just like drawn with like, I don't know. It's really neat. It's really neat. It kind of reminds me again of like colored pencils, and I think it's really cool.
It looks
it's
like
very,
it would be
very
on the
big difference
ceiling
from
of
the
some
OG.
kind of temple.
Yeah, that 100%. Yeah,
I
can see that.
So I see a representation of dragon. I see a representation of angel. Do you see a direct representation of demon in this piece? I'm missing it, I think, and maybe it's there and I'm just not seeing it. But they very clearly have the dragon wings, the angel wings, and then like the sword and the staff. Is that supposed to represent the demonic influence? Maybe the rune here on her hip. I'm not really sure.
Probably that. Probably the rune.
I think I think it's an A for me. I really want to.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's got that. I don't know, man. I'm between A and an S. What do you think? Where does it fall? You make the call.
For me, it falls at an A, but it also could be an S. I mean, it's like splitting hairs with this card. It's very nice.
Yeah, for sure. We'll fall there. Next, we've got another representation of Meddling Mage, where our mage here is blowing ice.
Yeah, the ice kind of representing the spells that can't be countered, and again, I love the balance. We're talking about just like the colors, and like having that movement. Whoosh of ice going behind is really, really helpful on a piece that has a lot of dark components with like the hair of the figure and the
background,
the gloves, and also the outfit. It's all very dark, but having that back and forth, and also the fact that this is a gold card. It's one of the few gold cards that are in this set that are two colors. So I really like the fact that we have this white and blue in the text box, and I think that if they did this with other cards, a lot of cards would have looked cool with that going on in the text box. But I think it's a very, very cool card, and I would rank it easily at like A or B.
Yeah, I was actually feeling B on it. I agree with you about the movement of the ice. We're freezing some spell out of the battle. That spell's not allowed to come. It's interesting where they've placed her. I mean, we've she's in a ravine of some kind on a plains between some mountains, and fighting with blue mana. I don't know.
Well, sometimes a meddling mage is fighting in like Gruul territory.
Yeah. No, I get that.
It's just,
It's I'm happy with a B for our meddling mage. Let's look at Batterskull here. So I gotta be honest, this one took me a couple of views to really see. And Jake, I don't know if you've seen the actual full piece, but completely blocked by the text box here is a soldier that is getting run the hell over by this Batterskull that's bursting through some roots that they were hiding in. I'm not really sure. What's your opinion about what's going on here?
This is easily one of my least favorite showcase pieces that came out of this set.
Yeah. Okay. Then we're on the same page.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan. I think that it aside from looking weird, it's very difficult. Just looking at the card, not looking at any of the art that you're talking about that's blocked by the text box, but just looking at the card and like what you see at first glance, like on the back of the Batterskull, it kind of looks like there's like some little like scary guy riding it. Further up. You see that?
Yeah.
It looks kind of like a little skeleton man riding it or something like that. I don't really know what's going on. But then also it looks like it's destroying, honestly, like a giant spider to me. It looks like it's like jumping into the back of a giant spider, and all of its legs are, or it's like a spider that's on its back and all of its legs are flying off, and it just is very difficult for me to understand. And then also nothing really going on around the Batterskull. It's just like this kind of colors, like sunset and like grays and some maroons and some yellows, and it's just like the OG Batterskull to me is just so much cooler than this.
Yeah, agree. So do you like it? Do you like it less than Dark Confidant, or would you say that it falls in that same category there?
I would actually put it at E.
Yeah.
I hate saying that because Arcade Post is just fantastic, but you can't like everything.
Yeah, I mean, these are just our opinions. Let's move to...
No, these are facts. What we're doing is we're saying actual facts that you can't...
Definitive, no one can argue with these. Blightsteel Colossus is up next, and I gotta tell you, this is my favorite representation of Blightsteel Colossus that I've ever seen. What do you think?
Yeah, it's really cool. It's everything that's going on with that. I like the colors. I like the composition. It's really like taking up the frame as well with its hands and its claws, and it has that Phyrexian symbol down the middle. It's like you know what's going on here. It's really cool.
I don't know if you remember this, or really if you've ever even acknowledged it, but they made a choice with the dark steel pieces back in the day that they have this like small line of light surrounding them. If you think back to the dark steel, like what was that smallest little artifact that was made of dark steel and it was like indestructible, and maybe it just added a mana or something?
Dark Steel Relic.
Yes, yeah. Dark Steel Relic. It had this little beam of light that sort of surrounded it. And they've kept that idea going here with these like little light, I don't even know what to call them, little spirit lines,
electrons.
Little spinny electrons that surround something that's made of dark steel, in this case Blightsteel, because it is under the Phyrexian influence. Where do you think this one falls? S, A, B?
I would put it at A.
Yeah, I don't think it's an S for me. I do think it's an A for me. I really am a fan. I would not be mad to pull it. Now, how about a Chrome Mox?
S. I can't rank it anything other than S. It's perfect to me.
I'm so hard.
In every way, it's perfect.
I'm with you. The background, it's abstract, but very clear what we're looking at. It's a Mox. We've got our spin of color back there. It almost reminds me of the... what was the set in Alara where you had the thing that was all the different colors of mana? Not the royal, but you know what I'm talking about. The Conflux. Where all the mana
or
was
mana
coming
cyclics,
together.
or it's like a monolith.
Yeah, whatever it was. We've got this.
This is beautiful though.
Yeah,
it's perfect.
All of the colors are mana coming in together.
God, this foil, dude. Oh my god.
Oh right. This one,
I want it so badly in foil for EDH.
Yes.
So badly.
Right. Oh my gosh, yeah. Chrome Mox is a home run for me. What about this expedition map?
Dude, it's cool. It's a map. I like that there's different big monsters on it. Yeah. Like, we're going to go fight the spider, and then we're going to go kill the dragon, and then we're going to take out the Hydra of the lake,
cobra,
and the giant wolf. Yeah. I think it's cool, but again, like bigger, brighter colors. You have all this gray from the expedition map, and it just kind of, for me, falls a little bit flat. Like, I would like to see something that pops a little bit.
It's a very literal translation for sure. Let me tell you this story, and I don't know if you know this. I saw this on Twitter. The artist drew this map. This map that's represented in the piece itself is an actual piece of art that the artist created to be the reference piece for this piece, and they sold the map, just the map with these figures, the spider, the wolf, the dragon, the snake, like we were talking about, as its own standalone piece, so you can actually purchase to own the Expedition map from Expedition Map, because the artist created, Scott Murphy created it.
That is a pretty dank meme.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool little side story I heard about that. Expedition Map. But I feel like we're describing a B. Yes, we're describing a very literal translation of Expedition Map that was executed wonderfully.
Fine. Yeah, right, sure.
Really nailed.
Yeah, I think a B is fine.
Really nailed that basic landing there. What about these lightning greaves.
The only thing I don't like about this piece are the weird spikes on the bottom that don't make a lot of sense as far as where they are placed.
Sure.
But other than that, I like it. A lot of flat, kind of like earthy tones to me. So again, I think there could have been a little bit more of a risk with lightning greaves. However, I do feel the speed. I feel the motion.
I was going to say,
few very specific chunks of rock that the artist chose that Zug picked for these makes a lot of you really do feel the movement of it. And I think the foil of this is probably really nice. And just a little MTG finance tidbit, I think this is like the kind of foil where like these are starting to dip around like 17 or $18, and I think those are going to start getting soaked up for EDH, because I really do think it's a cool, desirable card. I just don't like the spikes on the bottom.
I feel like the spikes were a chance that the artist took, that Zug took, to really make it visually striking. It reminds me of the same thought of like, you know, a cheetah's claws are very long and strong, but they're not necessarily meant for ripping. They're meant for digging into the ground and giving the creature momentum. And so I feel like these are, you know, like cleats almost was the thought here, like really 100%. Really fast mage cleats.
I do like the lightning strikes down the shins. Like that's
and the
really
colors
cool.
And the depth on these, it looks so tight. You can feel them coming off of the greaves themselves. I think you 100% are spot on about the movement. It feels fast. The art feels like it's moving, like it's sprinting, and you just aren't going to be able to get a handle on this guy. I mean, look at the tattered cloth. It looks like some kind of pyroblast shot at this guy, and he just was like, and got out of the way, and it maybe caught a little bit of the cloak, and he kept on moving. For me, this one's an A. Are you comfortable at putting it in an A, or do you think it rides more in B?
For me, it rides more in like B, but if you wanted an A, I think it teeters more like B plus for me, so we could go A.
Okay, yeah, we the limits of this one, Jake really likes the in-betweens, the B pluses and the A minuses, if you
know. I do.
The limits of us, we're doing a new style with the tier list in this video, and we can't do the pluses. We don't have any halvesies, but we do have an A there for the lightning greaves. Jake, let's look at this mana crypt.
Very different than any other mana crypt we've ever seen.
Wildly different.
Very wildly different. I don't know if you've seen the foil of this card, but the way the foiling is done with all of that, all of the brown around the edge here and like what they're digging into, what they're excavating into, like it just shines and it pops so much when you see that brightness coming through. So I really do like the balance on this, and I think it's just there's like something that about it leaves something to be desired. However, I would rank it at like an A or a B. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's taken a strong choice. I do agree with you that something about it, I'm just like, meh. But when I look at it more closely and I see kind of the story that it's telling with these three archaeologists, exactly. It represents, going back to that, if you lose the flip, it deals 3 damage to you, or you have...
I mean, that one guy lost the flip. Let's talk about that.
Definitely lost the flip down here. I mean, this is... They've lost control of the piece that they've excavated, and they tried to keep chained up, but it's like, seems to be moving away, or they can't control it anymore. You know, I'm with you. I think that A is great for this mana crypt. You know, it is a completely different representation of the piece than we've ever seen before. But I think that this style, keeping these showcase cards in these reprint sets especially, really rewards taking chances, especially for well-known cards. We all know Mana Crypt. We all know what it does. So let's try and take a little chance on it. We've got Mox Opal up next.
Yeah, for me, this is an S. I really love those Phyrexian hands. Like, yes. I feel like this is the way it should have been done originally. And I know that the hands originally that are holding it are kind of like Phyrexian looking as well. But this is very
This person has been completed.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. And I love the colors. I like that it's like these grays and yellows and greens. It feels very like toxic, kind of.
But we do have still all the colors of mana represented in the middle, but we have enough artifacts to, turn on the Mox, if you will.
Yeah, this is like a Jin Gitaxis or like a Elish Norn or something like a Shouldered has found this, and it's just like...
Yeah.
Or like an artifact creature. Probably maybe the Solemn Simulacrum that we saw in Core 2021, something like that very new looking kind of thing. But I think it's really cool. I think it could be an S, or how you feel about it.
I'm with you. I think that they nailed it on these Moxes. I think that the looking at it from a different perspective, or not a different perspective, but a more evolved perspective. If you look at the Phyrexian kind of storyline of them wanting to incorporate more of these metals and their oils into making these perfect beings, I mean, that's really all they want, right? Is completion, that they call it, is perfection. And so it definitely represents that. We've seen a more completed being holding an artifact that is still going to provide them with all colors of mana as they are able to activate it with enough artifacts,
Right, true, yeah.
Sword of Body and Mind. We've got a sword surrounded by a bramble above a very large waterfall, yeah.
It's okay. It's okay. I'm not super into it. Yeah. I'm sure the prompt was tough.
Yeah. I mean, these swords, they can be tough. I mean, you're dealing with some elemental forces here. Obviously the sword looks cool. We don't really get much of the sword. The focus is mostly the hilt and the pommel, and we've got the root bramble surrounding it. And I'm definitely assuming that represents our
I feel wolves. The mill. I feel the mill, but I don't see the wolves. The mill is
very clear, right? Yeah, agreed. Green and blue, obviously, yeah. For me, this one hits C. What do you think?
Yeah, I feel like C is fine. Again, it looks cool. It's just a little, I don't know, weird.
No, I got you. Let's move to our next sword, which is Feast and Famine.
Compared to the Masterpiece, I don't think it's even close. But I do think it's really, really cool. Just like stuck in the stump, you see the feast, you see the famine. Yeah. It's pretty clear. I mean, it is cool to see these swords in a direction that isn't like this, the realism, the fantasy realism.
Right.
This is very like a picture that was drawn of the sword and from memory with pencils. And I think it's cool. I think it's really neat. I don't think it's an S for me. I'm sure there's a bunch of people that disagree, but I do think it's really neat.
I think this one falls B for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, I do like the colors on it. Yeah. I do like the black and the green.
Yeah, the composition is great. And we've got the famine happening over here. You can see lands sprouting up. We've got new growth from the other side.
Some mushrooms.
Untapping our lands over here. The black and the green. It's got a very, natural feel to it versus this one that looks very created, if you will, even though it is still surrounded by nature. And still, that's another reason why that one's fairly ambiguous to me. This looks like a tree, some kind of tree folk created this sword out of their own body or something crazy like that, And
sure.
So it's got that feel like of a story to it. But for me it's a solid one. This I think is my favorite of the swords that came out. Or at least tied for. What do you think of Sword of Fire and Ice? And while we're on it, have you seen this one in foil? Because it's got to be sick in foil.
No, I do have a VIP opening that we haven't posted yet. So maybe I have, maybe I haven't. I do think the card is cool. Clearly on like some sort of like dark magma pulling the sword out, kind of get like a Excalibur kind of feel from this. Like it's stuck in something, but again, not a lot going on around it. Very dark. However, the focus of the piece is clearly the sword. We see the ice, we see the fire.
I look at this as
sweet.
more of like a lock, a key to some lock, and this is what is sealing something shut. This one for me has the most story to it, which I think is why I like it. That knight that's holding the hilt of this sword has ice dripping down, frozen. And so I see a knight that has like a century ago stabbed this sword into whatever this is, whether it's some kind of seal keeping some large ancient, guardian or ancient terror locked in their vault forever deep down in the earth, and they're trying to like maintain that, and if anybody disturbs this is the guardian of that ancient's vault. I don't know, I'm getting narrative now, but it does have some story to it, which I really like. And I love how we've got the juxtaposition of the magma coming down at the same time as we've got the ice coming down, and for some reason they're both able to live there in harmony, even though being that close to lava would definitely melt all that ice.
Yeah, true.
So yeah, I mean, for me this one falls more A for the swords. What do you think?
Sure. A is I mean, for me, it falls like easy B, but
Okay.
if you're thinking like A...
No. I think that I would be more in A- territory for this one comparatively to the rest. I think maybe I'm looking for one of the swords to rank higher, but if you're looking at this in terms of all of these showcase arts, it definitely, I would say, is more B for me for sure.
Cool.
Yeah. Sword of Light and Shadow. I hate that it looks like we can't see the rest of what's happening. This, to me, seems like it's the interesting part. Or maybe we've just got like demon arms that have been petrified, and, also the angels have put their chains on it so that we're locking this sword in place so that no one can use it, because you've got returning creatures, you've got gaining life. I really like the representation of it on here, but
for me, it's a lot of grays and blacks and whites, and that probably is the purpose of it.
Yeah.
That's probably how it was designed, but I do not doubt that it's beautiful in foil with
Right.
that very bright shining light coming off the hilt of the sword. It just doesn't rank very high for me.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not very interesting. And especially as like a showcase card, it just doesn't really even clearly read as a sword almost. It's like you can see you can see the handle, but whereas like the other ones like Fire and Ice is clearly a sword, even Body and Mind is like clearly a sword, and Feast and Famine is obviously a sword sticking out of a stump there. But this one is like a little bit
like maybe it's some
I can
weird
kind of see it.
tower or
Like
something.
I know, like my brain fills in the blanks when I see Sword of Light and Shadow. So I wonder, without knowing that, how I would feel about it. However, it's fine. I would rank it at a C or a D. I would rank it probably at a D, dude.
Okay, yeah, I'm with you on that. I think that if you glance at this as just a piece at the outset, it looks like some sort of tower or monument that has light beams shooting from it, and it really does take close study to... I see exactly what you're saying with that. So we've got one more sword left, and that is Sword of War and Peace.
This is easily my favorite.
Yeah, I was going to say,
swords.
You want to talk about one that tells a story. We are mid-battle here, and someone has gotten Harry Potter Expelliarmus, and their weapon flew out of their hand and shoved very cleanly into the column of wherever they're fighting.
Or like we have like a lunge, like they were swinging for the fences, went for somebody, and then caught that pull, couldn't get the sword out, swung off it, and now they're fighting something somewhere else out of frame. This sword is just in battle. Something is going on. This sword is not in use right now. It is, it's stuck in through this column. But I think this kind of like, oh man, it kind of represents like everything that I want out of this.
Yeah. No, I get you.
The colors are great. I'm a fan.
Right.
I would rank this at easily like an A or an S as far as...
Yeah, I think it's an A. I don't think it hits.
Yeah.
I don't think it matches our 6 row up here of S's by itself, but I do think that it is a great piece, and I'm with you. I would say it's between War and Peace and Fire and Ice for me as favorite sword, but War and Peace cleanly takes it just because Yeah, the composition, man, it's really cool. It's a really cool take on it. Let's move to our much more organic representation than we've ever seen of Wormcoil Engine.
Yeah, I think that this is fine. I think it's, again, not for me. I'm not a big fan of it. I like the original art. That's just kind of how I feel. Kind of falls flat. A lot of earthy tones.
I like that we see that we've got two worms wrapped up together, almost falling over each other. We've got the side of it that's very clearly Death Touch and more metallic and deadly looking, and then we've got the more organic side too, with sort of a greenish in here in the mouth. So we've got Death Touch and the lifelink thing represented together. So B, C, where does this fall for you?
For me, this would probably fall at like an easy C. Yeah. It just seems very medium to me. Like, and not hating on the artist at all. It's just it doesn't even really read as an artifact to me. It just kind of like it seems like a giant big worm.
It definitely looks organic. So C is fine for me on that one. Academy Ruins. Now, we've got our Academy Ruins at the bottom of the lake here. I'm a huge fan of this one. What do you think?
Yeah, I would rank it at an A.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it perfectly encapsulates, put target artifact card from your graveyard on top of your library. Not that so much, but it definitely hits like... This stays a lot more true to the original kind of art here. This is almost like just like an extended border frame or like a different angle of that original piece.
I could see. I mean, you're paying mana. You're pulling from the ruins here to get some ancient knowledge, some ancient this could be the trinket graveyard or something. Right. Yeah. Exactly. And it gets that knowledge for your use up there on the top of your library. I think that, if you go deep diving in here, you're definitely going to find something cool, forgotten wizard trinket that's going to give you some special powers. So up next, you can kind of see the three in a row here. We've got our one long panorama of Urza's mine, power plant, and tower. And I feel like these need to be ranked together.
I felt that same way as well.
It's interesting because I think that the Karn can stand alone, even though it is a continuation of the piece. But I do think that these move together. What's your take on Urza's lands?
I love all the pastel art. This piece, this panorama, easily stands alone as its own thing. There's nothing else that came out of this set of cards that even comes close to like this style or this look. So from that perspective, it's like perfection to me. Yeah. I think that it's perfect. I love the coral colors and like these like teals and blues and pinks and oranges, and
I'm with you. It's got the feel of this wizard that was really into artifacts, was so into this Phyrexian race. He hated it, but also kind of admired them and really teetered on the edge between good and bad, good and evil, if you will, very influenced by his own enemy kind of thing. It's got this kind of Thran feel to it where, like you said, it's almost like this is rock, but I'm also kind of like, is it also maybe a more organic metal sort of thing? And we've got this like power conduit running through the ground. I'm not exactly sure what's going on there, but...
Or are we in someone's brain?
Yeah, right. No, yeah, exactly. Are we much more abstract? Is this some sort of, mental construct? So I was going to say S for this, and it feels like you've got a similar...
I'm right there with you.
Similar take on it. So that is how these fall out, ladies and gentlemen. These are the official and cannot be argued with.
Cannot be refuted. Cannot be argued.
Rankings of the showcase cards from Double Masters. There is a link that you can go to on Tiermaker. We're going to leave this link in the description below. You can go. These cards are already uploaded and the tier list is ready for you to make your own version of this. And I want you to go and do that. And I want you to tweet it at us. Jake Joel MTG on Twitter at Jake Joel MTG. You can go and make your very own. It's already ready for you. The art is all there. You can save and download it, and you can argue with us on the internet about your rankings.
We love to argue.
Absolutely.
We love to argue.
We appreciate you watching. If you've made it this far in the video, these tier lists are always really fun, but they are very long videos, so we appreciate you watching. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this, and if you want to hang out with us further, go check out our Patreon. You get access to our Discord, monthly giveaways, all sorts of fun stuff over there. Jake, I'm tapped out.
If there's a tier list that you want us to do, let us know. Put it in the comments. Maybe we'll do it.
Absolutely. Catch y'all later.